Well, this all works out swimmingly for the Packers if Jordan Love is their third first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback in a row.
No, if he can play, all this stuff's solved.
But
tomorrow.
We don't know if he can play. And GM Brian Gutekunst spoke at this year's draft about the possibility of Jordan Love jumping into the driver's seat.
Well, obviously, we think the world of Jordan and where he's going to go and develop. I think it's pretty early to kind of, be able to tell you that, because obviously with no preseason game last year, but preseason games last year, and then just the no spring. But we have a lot of confidence in his talents and his work ethic and where he's going to go. But it's a little early for that.
Mm-hmm. You better, because this was your decision.
And you're tied to it forever.
Quite ruffling of feathers. Yes. So this is an echoing explanation of what we're hearing about Love. Here's what concerns me about the situation. I did not like the pick to begin with. You were in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Of all the positions of need you needed in the first round, it was not quarterback. And it's not like Love fell to them and he was this highly touted prospect. You traded up to get him. That sends a message no matter what position it is. But the quarterback was the last position that you needed. And I've talked to a lot of people about it, and they're like, oh, but Aaron Rodgers, his numbers were slipping. Slipping? He just won the MVP. So he obviously still had that in him. Whatever happened with the NFC Championship game with the Packers last year was not on Aaron Rodgers. I think we can all safely say that's the position that we're the most sure about with the Green Bay Packers. So you made this move, sent a message to Aaron Rodgers, sent a message to your fan base that you are now building towards the future when you are already in the present competing to make it to the Super Bowl. So you better be sure he's the guy.
Yeah, it's going to be mocked, even if he's really good.
Yes. He has to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Like, even if he was, you'd be like, I guess you'd tolerate it. If he was Justin Herbert, you'd be like, okay, I get it.
Yes.
But when you make that move, you cannot be hopeful. You have to be sure.
There was not one drop of reassurance in that statement, because he knows he can't oversell him. At this point, it's best to undersell.
Right.
You're still developing. You're still years away. Then why did you trade up in the first round to get him? You're not trying to win championships. That's the message that you said. You're building towards future championships, which is why I'm completely on Aaron's side for being upset. But more than that, this would very quickly all fall apart, because if Aaron Rodgers is not there, and at this point we're all assuming he's at least not going to be there next year.
Right.
When you have guys who are sitting behind quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, you have a feeling like, even Jimmy Garoppolo, like, there's a reason why Tom Brady wanted Jimmy out of the building.
Yeah.
It wasn't because he was unconcerned about what Jimmy was doing in practice.
No, Jimmy could play.
Yes. So he wanted him out of the building.
That's why Favre didn't like Aaron Rodgers around.
Exactly.
He could play.
Because he could play. So there's a reason why Aaron Rodgers is mad about this and is offended, as he should be. But there's also a reason why we're not hearing that. We've asked players all the time, can you tell if a guy can play? Very quickly, and we're not hearing that.
Yeah.
So the 49ers drafted Trey Lance with the third overall pick. But there was a lot of talk leading up to the draft that Mac Jones was going to be the pick. And it kind of surprised a lot of people. I certainly was shocked that was what happened. Well, Peter King thinks there were two reasons behind the Mac Jones smokescreen.
Smokescreen.
Yes. So supposedly the 49ers wanted to convince the world that they're picking Mac Jones. And suppose they've talked to several teams about Jimmy Garoppolo in trade. They'll pony up bigger packages than they'd offered. Then there's another reason. For a month and a half, Shanahan could have had deep discussions with coaches and scouts about the merits of the three quarterbacks. So he also said, if everyone in the organization knows you're taking player X, then they're more likely to echo chamber all the good stuff about player X than be totally honest about all three. So basically, it was just a ripple effect. They weren't sure, according to them, up until about 10 days before the draft, where they were going with. So there was all of this positive Mac Jones talk, and they were leaning in on Mac Jones for so long. I'm told it was the Trey Lance interview that moved.
Well, I mean, I guess you could believe this. I always felt this. And I shouldn't say I always felt this. The more I thought about this, I felt this. Would you move up to number 3? Because I heard this early. You move up to number 3 when you've got several guys you like. To me, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
You move up to 3 if you've got a guy you like. So I still contend the Mac Jones stuff was real, and it got such awful media and fan support. I mean, it was mocked that I think sometimes, I know you guys listening, fans, think you get hosed all the time, but fans do have power. Yes, they do. First of all, your power is not watching a show or watching a show. That's your ultimate power. But when fans are like, this is toxic, they stop buying merchandise. And by the way, your owner driving to work every day doesn't want to turn on KNBR in San Francisco and hear people crapping on his coach and GM. I think they wanted to draft Mac Jones. I understood their reasoning. He can play right away. But I think the Bay Area said no. And then it gave the scouts and John Lynch, who weren't in the Mac Jones corner, more ammunition to go to the owner or to go to Kyle and go, Kyle, you're on an island here. This is a career ender if it doesn't work.
No, I can see all of that. I also think that, obviously there was no new tape. The pro days are what they are, but it's not like, you're evaluating something dramatically different than you were going to see on the tape. It's just an extra viewing of their skills. But if you're on the fence or, half the organization isn't sure, and to your point, the fans are mad about it, and then you meet with Trey Lance and, it's the hard eyes emoji, then it does make it easier for everyone to move on because you're so impressed with the interview. So the last time James Harden played in a game for the Nets was April 5th, and he only played for 4 minutes. So the playoffs are quickly approaching, and Steve Nash gave a positive update on Harden.
It's just a matter of monitoring it from today to tomorrow to Wednesday and figuring out what's the best plan of attack. So we can't commit to anything right now because we're not committed to anything. We're just trying to get a good picture from one day to the next, where we're trending, where we're heading, and then make a sound decision based off that. But definitely possible that he plays one or more of these last 4 games.
The most amazing thing about Brooklyn, I have to be honest about this, I thought KD was the best player and the most valuable. Harden's value is kind of shocking. Like, they won 20 of 22 at one point without KD. Without Harden, it's a mess. Like, I always said this, Harden's a great all-time scorer. But in the MVP races, I was always really cynical, which is a bad quality to have. But it was like, come on. No, it's actually interesting that Harden's value has increased exponentially, in my opinion, joining 2 other stars.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll just say it now. I am shocked how important he is on this team. Like, Kevin Durant could leave the Warriors. They could win games. But this team is just okay.
Yeah, I still think KD is the better overall player when healthy.
Yes.
But formulas and chemistry for teams is very important. And I didn't like Harden's game. I didn't enjoy watching it before he got to Brooklyn. So I'm disappointed that our big teams are struggling with injuries. The big brands right now heading so close into the playoffs. I wish they had gotten some time to play in the regular season.
Yeah.
But they're 3 games back of first place from the 76ers in the East. They have 4 games. They have 4 games back, so they'd currently face the winner of 7 versus 8 in the play-in game, which as of right now would be the Celtics and the Hornets. Jaylen Brown is out for the rest of the season. So that's at least for the first round.
Well, the Celtics have no size, so the
and
Nets
they just lost Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, the Nets will roll through the Celtics.
Yes. So my concern with the Nets has obviously always been later into the playoffs, which could end up working out better for them for getting Harden back and getting healthy. But again, they've not played together. They played 7 games, the 3 of them together. And if they're all healthy, you're not going to not have KD, Kyrie, and Harden on the floor together.
How great does it look to see the Knicks at a 4 spot? It's great.
I love it. I'm very excited for the playoffs.
I watched the entire game Sunday. I was like, Knicks are incredibly likable. They're very Knicks. Not glamorous, not a lot of offense, play really hard, just like Riley's Knicks, like Walt Frazier's Knicks. For a glamorous city, they love their unglamorous basketball, but it's fun to watch.
I can't wait for it.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.